Wishes Fulfilled, Mastering the Art of Manifesting by Dr. Wayne W. Dyer. Chapter 5, The Second Wishes Fulfilled Foundation. Live from the end. In the presence of Him who he believed, God, who gives life to the death and calls those things which do not exist as though they did. Romans chapter 4, verse 17. You might find that the second foundation for a wishes-fulfilled life is the most troublesome and unconventional idea that you tackle. If you find that this is true for you, I encourage you to rustle up all the determination you are capable of. You are going to begin retraining your imagination so that it accepts the idea that anything placed there isn't for a future experience, but represents your reality right here, right now. You are being asked to put your five senses into a lockbox so that they can't persuade you that you are ignoring what they perceive as reality. You are stepping into a new dimension, the unaccustomed reality that St. Paul speaks of in his letters to the people of Rome in Romans chapter 4, verse 17, cited above. Keep in mind, a fundamental axiom of this book, the strong knowing I described in chapter 3 and stressed throughout this book, we are all God. Is it not written in your law, I said, you are God's? John chapter 10, verse 34, was the response of Jesus when he was about to be stoned. For a good work we do not stone you, but for blasphemy and because of you. Being a man, make yourself God. John chapter 10, verse 33. I quote this to remind you that it is not me, some crazy 21st century writer, saying these words. They are directly out of the scriptures. Now simply review the lines St. Paul speaks in Romans chapter 4, verse 17, and calls those things which do not exist as though they did. This is how God works. Your imagination, when aligned with the highest principles of your highest self, is God at work. You can make your imagination a place where you absolutely call things as you insist that they be, even though they may not have appeared in the third dimension as reported by your five senses. This is where you must learn to trust, think, and live from rather than in anticipation of. Hence the title of this chapter, Live from the End. As I sit here writing, there's a book with a beautiful jacket taped around it. The jacket is exactly the same as the cover of the book you are now reading, titled Wishes Fulfilled. I'm only 1/3 of the way through the actual writing of this book, yet I see the completed book every day when I approach my sacred writing space. This is a practice I've maintained for many years. As I'm in the process of writing, I see the finished book every day, both in my imagination and in its symbolic representation. My imagination is where my thoughts are, the thoughts of God, and thus I am God, creating what I know is already present. I am calling that which does not exist as though it did. Knowing and feeling this means nothing can dissuade me from this creative force in my imagination. There's no fear about completing some awesome undertaking of writing a book. It's already complete in my mind. I simply allow the energy to flow into me, through my heart and onto the pages. I recently made the following observation concerning the topic, Are you a writer? On my website. Stop judging and get out of your own way. I always tell audiences when I talk about writing, writing isn't something I do. Writing is something that I am. I am writing. It's just an expression of me. Notice the words I am, the name of God for all generations to come, which were told to Moses in the Torah. Begin to focus your attention on words that follow the sacred name of God, your highest self, that is, I am. Begin to recognize the power of your creative imagination to fulfill wishes with I am. The power of your imagination. Figuratively, tattoo these words of Neville onto your forehead. In other words, memorize them and repeat them to yourself every time you look into the mirror. Disregard appearances, conditions, in fact, all evidence or senses that deny the fulfillment of your desire. Rest in the assumption that you are already what you want to be, for in that determined assumption, you and your infinite being are merged in creative unity, and with your infinite being, God, all things are possible. God never fails. Your concept of yourself is being replaced by a new concept of yourself. A new self concept begins with you placing it in your imagination and living from this new perspective. You can count on your five senses to attempt to convince you that you should pay homage only to them and treat your imagination as unimportant and illusory. But that doesn't mean that you have to allow them to usurp your new concept of yourself. Right now, in this moment, you can practice this. Say aloud or to yourself, by placing new I ams into my imagination, my future dream is a present fact. Repeat the statement a few times. Can you feel your ego resisting? Which of your five senses is most adamantly annoyed? Notice and repeat. This new concept of yourself as God, or at least as a spark of God, asks you to think like God, who calls those things which do not exist as though they did. Here you are creating an ideal of what you want to be and assuming that you already are that person. This is what Neville calls the law of assumption, and he states emphatically, if this assumption is persisted in until it becomes your dominant feeling, the attainment of your ideal is inevitable. Remind yourself that your imagination is yours to use as you decide, and that everything you wish to manifest into your physical world must first be placed firmly in your imagination in order to grow. Let Neville's words guide you. Therefore, to incarnate a new and greater value of yourself, you must assume that you already are what you want to be and then live by faith in this assumption, which is not yet incarnate in the body of your life, in confidence that this new value or state of consciousness will become incarnated through your absolute fidelity to the assumption that you are that which you desire to be. This is a total transformation of your entire being. Within your imagination, you can conceive thoughts of what you want as already here, prior to their birth and form in the sensory world. This means that your thoughts aren't along the lines of, I will be, I hope it works out, I'm praying for good results. Instead, you say to yourself, I am, acknowledging the I am presence as God dwelling in me. Then your mind is that I am presence will become the dominant creative feature in your life. This generative force will gently assert its authentic creativity and power as you conceive it, and in the process replace a dependency on your physical and intellectual abilities. Your renewed reality does not rely exclusively on those five senses that keep you attached to the false beliefs that you are your body or its possessions, achievements, and reputation. You've already discovered that the different bodies you've occupied throughout your life so far no longer exist for your senses to experience. Now you can choose to consciously participate in this non-sensory supreme reality, your imagination, where you assume your future dream to be a present fact and live from this new awareness. This isn't pretending or fooling yourself. It is inviting your spirit rather than your physical form to generate the creative essence of your reality. It's what it means to transform your life. The word transformation has the word form right smack in the middle, preceded by trans, meaning going beyond form. Live from the place that will indeed take you way beyond the limits of your seemingly limited life. Explore imagination, which is the source of all being or physical reality. Throughout my life, I've often been called exclusively persistent and even obsessive in going after what I wish to fulfill. The truth is that I have within me a very powerful knowing that when I place something into my imagination, it is already a fact for me. I just don't seem to have the capacity to erase from my mind what it is that is already my reality. For instance, earlier in my life, when I applied to a doctoral program, I already saw myself with a doctorate, although I hadn't taken even one course toward that degree. When I was told that 9 out of 10 doctoral students do not receive their degree because they cannot complete the vigorous requirements of writing a dissertation, I knew that this did not apply to me because I was already a doctor in my imagination. I persistently acted as if my dream were a present fact. I've had the same kind of thinking from the end in every phase of my professional career. As a young boy, I saw myself on television shows and vehemently hold this inner picture in my imagination, ignoring a lot of naysayers. And these imaginings ultimately were taken from my mind where they were real to the material world where my senses finally caught up and confirmed them as truths. The facts are, for me, that a picture in my imagination is already my reality. I live from this perspective, and nothing can dissuade me from this stance because I am not hoping to get someplace else. I am already there. I just don't know how to erase what I am living in my imagination. Even if the whole world attempts to persuade me of the folly of my dreams, this is a mindset you can choose to embrace. Let go of all doubt. Forget about the when. It will develop into a material fact on divine time. Forget about the how. Live it inwardly. This is a great power that you possess if you are willing to claim it as your own. I cannot emphasize strongly enough how vital it is for you to claim this inherent power of God and use it for manifesting the life you desire. Be obstinate regarding this idea. Hold your vision relentlessly, and more than that, live each day as if that idea you have in your imagination is in fact your reality. In the I Am discourses, Saint Germain repeatedly reminds us that we are the master and have dominion in our lives. Once this is part of your awareness, you can access the energy, power, and intelligence of the mighty I Am presence, which is your birthright. This I Am presence is always with you. Moving from I Am, not to I Am. Throughout life, you've been through a conditioning process that's created a mindset overflowing with I am not. As a school child with a less than satisfactory grade on your report card, you thought to yourself, I am not smart. You place anywhere other than number one and say, I am not talented. You feel criticized and believe that I am not good. You look in the mirror and compare yourself to a glamorous movie idol or homecoming queen and tell yourself, I am not attractive. Your relationship fractures and you think, I am unloved or I am unworthy. These and many more like them are repeated throughout your developmental years and into adulthood and become your core defining self-concept. You are reading this book because you wish to elevate your life to heights way beyond ordinary. You are endeavoring to adopt new truths that are harmonious with your higher and highest self. Now is the perfect time for you to begin discovering the God within you and yourself as God, and to expand your self-concept. I applaud you. Your self-concept is everything that you believe to be true about yourself. Overcoming this I am not mentality begins with trusting your inner world of spirit. There are no boundaries restricting your inner world, but your worldview and your self-concept in the outer world are defined by your five senses. The outer world is always changing, which by our previous definition means it is not real. This awareness could lead to you experiencing a majestic wake-up call right here, right now. How does it feel to realize that most of what you believe about yourself and your limitations is based on an illusion? a well-intentioned illusion handed to you by people and bodies that no longer exist in a time that has passed. Much of your self-concept is a fiction based on beliefs that are untrue and contain no veracity when you were first exposed to them. This is exquisitely detailed by Anita Morjani, who had a near-death experience, NDE, that challenged all her previous concepts about who and what she was. Her story illustrates that there's another dimension where you can become one with God and create miracles in your everyday life. Anita had Hodgkin's lymphoma throughout her body. Her organs were shutting down, and she was told that she had less than 36 hours to live. On the website for the Near Death Experience Research Foundation, nderf.org, she relates, "Then I actually crossed over to another dimension where I was engulfed in a total feeling of love. I also experienced extreme clarity of why I had the cancer, why I had come into this life in the first place, what role everyone in my family played in my life in the grand scheme of things, and generally how life works." While in her NDE state, Anita was shown that everything going on in our lives is dependent on this energy around us, created by us. Nothing is solid. We are the creators of our surroundings and life conditions depending on how we use this energy. Our physical bodies become sick because the energetic level at which we live. As Anita reports, "I realized that if I went back, it would be with a very healthy energy. Then the physical body would catch up to the energetic conditions very quickly and permanently. I was given the understanding that this applies to anything, not only illnesses." Anita was given the opportunity to return to her cancer-ravaged body. Astoundingly, 4 days after her NDE, her body showed almost no signs of cancer. Essentially, this woman discovered the I Am God lesson of this book, as well as the great message of Jesus that I've detailed in the previous chapters. I made contact with Anita and encouraged her to write her own book and share her remarkable story with the world. Her book, titled Dying to Be Me, is an incredible, inspiring, and compelling account of her experience. Anita's physical body, with billions of cancer cells, went from being at death's door to being cancer-free following her NDE. She has so much to share with us, and I am proud to have written the foreword to her book. Anita realized that the seemingly solid world that our senses offer is an illusion. She changed the outcome of test results and concluded that we can change anything by changing our energy, which we create with our thoughts. For her, this included a reality called cancer because a shift in consciousness made it disappear. From what I saw, it looked like we are energy first, and physical is only a result of expressing our energy, she says, and we can change our physical reality if we change our energy. This is what our declaration of I Am God can be for you. God is not physical, it is energy, and this divine energy is not like the material world energy that your senses report to you. Anita reported that she experienced a profound awareness that everything and everyone are interconnected. There is no separation. All she had to do to heal her physical body was to merge into God consciousness and be perfect love. "I felt one with everything. I felt a connection with every living thing, and it feels like the whole universe is within me." She reports that time and space felt very different in that dimension. "It doesn't feel linear like it does here. It felt like everything was happening simultaneously." Anita came to find that even past lives are not past. The words that best describe them are parallel lives, because there is no time and no separation. That idea is something that our senses find next to impossible to comprehend because we think linear, cause and effect, before and after. For Anita, there was only love, and it was an all-consuming love that she described as constructing the entire world. I was also flooded in all-encompassing, unconditionally loving energy. This universal energy is there for us no matter who or what we are. I felt amazingly powerful and magnificent. The world that Anita experienced while in her NDE is also your world. It requires making a shift to the true understanding of what the words I am signify to you. Live from the perspective that all things are possible, planted firmly in the depths of your imagination. The more you believe in your own divine nature, the more it starts to become real for you. Anita's almost instantaneous healing from an imminent death prognosis taught her that our highest self is unconditional love. No separation, no time, no judgment. As she puts it, whatever you believe, you will find that you are correct. Just think of the importance of living from this perspective now, rather than hoping it will become your reality sometime in the future or after your body dies. Living from the I am God awareness necessitates knowing that you are one with transcendent, unconditional love. This awareness attracts to your life everything that confirms this belief about yourself. Here you are ignoring what your senses preach to you, and after the words I am, you are placing the word magnificent. To quote Anita as she explains what she learned from this amazing NDE, when you realize your own magnificence, you will only attract magnificence into your life. And if you believe in things like attracts like, then the absolute best way to attract what's best for you is to love yourself to the point where you are filled with love, and will only attract to your life everything that confirms this belief about yourself. It's actually very simple, really. Anita entered the realm of God realization and lived from there while in her NDE, yet she also returned to a healthy body after her organs had shut down and the prognosis was imminent death. She is love rather than loving. Being love requires no action. It is simply loving yourself and your magnificence so totally that it overflows to all others. Remember, these words that Jesus spoke, God is love, and he who abides in love abides in God, and God in him. Your I am for this is simply I am love. Live from this awareness rather than the expectation that someday you'll arrive there. You will then capture the quintessence of the second wishes fulfilled foundation. I bring Anita's experience to you here because I was floored by the descriptions she offered concerning this great feeling of being bathed in unconditional love, and this is why I sought her out to write her own story for the world to hear. I want to bring to your attention one final observation she made about the concept of being in the state of God realization. There is no there. It's all just being. So there is no being here, because here implies the existence of there. As Anita writes, when we pursue externally, we seem to see the world as being competitive and limited, and we use external measures to judge our achievements. To me, herein lies the illusion. There is no limited supply of beingness. We seem to measure our beingness by the achievement of goals. I don't, and neither do most people who are happy. My point is to shift your views. See the magnificence in your being, whether you are rich or poor, physically impaired or not, with the one you love or not, and so on. I am now just focused on being, and I am now the creator of my life. That is, the artist of my life. purpose of the message of this chapter, Anita concludes, the only thing you need to learn is that you already are what you are seeking to attain. I am inviting you to live this way first. In your imagination, be it. Then live your life in the way St. Paul suggests, treating those things which do not exist as though they did, and surely they will become your reality. Your reconstructed I ams. Run through as large an inventory as you can of the things that you would like to define your life. Then make the shift in your imagination from an I am not or I am hoping to become to I am. I want what follows I am to be congruent with your highest self, which is God. Beginning with your inner dialogue, simply change the words that define your concept of yourself. Don't discuss what you're doing, because involving others in your I ams invites their ego to assert its self-importance. Redefine your self-concept by choosing the words that you ought to place into your imagination. Try this rewording of your inner world as a beginning step to accessing the assistance of your higher self and fulfilling your desires. In the book of Joel, the Lord's advice is in harmony with what I'm writing in this chapter. Let the weak say, I am strong. Joel chapter 3, verse 10. It is truly as simple as these 7 words from the Bible advise. If you say, I am weak, you defile the name of God, that is your highest self. How is it possible for the creative source of the universe, the source energy responsible for creating worlds, to say, I am weak? As I've quoted previously, Jesus said, is it not written in your law? I said, you are God's. So how can you, as you now operate in your life from your highest self, ever even think such a thought as I am weak, let alone define yourself in such a blasphemous manner by thinking I am strong? You place your imagination, the tools you need to achieve your pronouncements, and you align with the source of all, with strength instead of weakness. Align yourself so as to synchronistically invite the guidance that is unavailable when you declare I am weak. Instead of I am incapable of getting a job, shift to I am capable. Similarly, replace proclamations of I am not able to live in peace with I am peace. I am unlucky in love is replaced by I am love. I am unworthy of happiness becomes I am happiness. The words I am, which you constantly use to define who you are and what you are capable of, are holy expressions for the name of God, the highest aspect of yourself. Break lifelong habits of unwittingly besmirching this holy name. Discontinue using pejorative labels to cast aspersions on your holy self. One of the many great lessons of the I Am discourses is to always make your very first consideration to your divine self. In fact, adoration to it will allow you to rise to previously unimagined heights. You must make your outer self accept the unlimited power of your inner presence. Expanding your inner presence. It is impossible for me to overstate the significance of using these 2 words, I am. They have transformative energy to guide and direct the highest power in the universe, revealing you as a God-realized being. The next 4 chapters explore in detail how to manifest a wishes-fulfilled life. This chapter emphasizes training yourself to become comfortable with recognizing your tendency to think and say I am not or I hope to be, and replacing it with I am. Neville spoke of it this way: by creating an ideal in your mind, you can identify yourself with it until you become one, and the same with the ideal, thereby transforming yourself into it. It matters not how long you've been stuck in a pattern that's kept you from fulfilling your highest ideal of yourself. By shifting so that you restate who you are in your imagination and choosing that transformation, this is true wherever whether you've been a drug addict, a chronic stutterer, unmeshed in poverty, riddled with illness, chronically lazy, unlucky in love, intellectually inferior, and whatever you've wished you weren't. Apply the teachings of the next 4 chapters first in your mind, and then with actions that match your inner I am. Here are a few examples. Addictions, affirm I am sober, I am perfectly healthy. Stuttering, affirm I am in perfect command of my speech. Poverty, affirm I am prosperous. Illness, affirm I am well, I am perfect health. Laziness, I affirm I am in possession of unlimited energy. Seeking love, affirm I am love and I am in a loving relationship. Intellectually weak, affirm I am a genius. You might be thinking that this is all self-delusion, and just saying I am doesn't make it so. It's probably natural to feel skeptical if you believe that what your senses tell you is your only reality. The scriptures offer some words that may help you overcome your cynical viewpoint. The opening words in the book of John in the New Testament are, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. John chapter 1 verse 1. 13 verses later, there is this phrase, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. John chapter 1 verse 14. What do you suppose the phrase, and the Word was God, means? You are more than your sensory awareness. You are also your own spiritual divinity, which is impervious to those 5 senses. God proclaims in the same scriptures, as I noted in the previous chapter, my name is I am. Those 2 words are now in your imagination in such a way that they align perfectly with God. This is your beginning. Steadfastly retain and repeat I am, and you will discover the reality of, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. Yes, the words I am. Calling upon this name and placing it in your imagination and living from this place literally joins you with the source of power that allows you to become all that you've affirmed, as well as to create miracles. Begin by being willing to use these divine words as the name of your highest self, God. That is the inauguration of the you that will live a wishes-fulfilled life, as long as those wishes are in alignment with the source of being, which as those wishes are in alignment, which is love for yourself and your magnificence, love for all of God's creations. You will observe with joyous bewilderment as the words I am because flesh and dwell in your life as a hardened fact. 3 suggestions. Commit yourself to your own magnificence. Every time you look into a mirror and remind yourself that what stares back at you is not an ever-changing body, but an invisible that is truly your highest self. Affirm, I am love, I am God, I am worthy, I am infinite, silently and out loud. Do this frequently so that it eventually becomes your inner mantra. This is not an ego exercise, it is an awakening to the incredible miracle that you are. This will help you abandon old patterns you've carried that have sullied your personal relationship to this universe and all of the inherent beauty and perfection it beholds. Fearlessly place I ams into your imagination. Recognize that previously your false self, your ego, would never have allowed this expansion of your awareness. Ignore three-dimensional evidence that has defined your existence up until now. Enter a Enter into a higher fourth dimension that allows for the primary teaching of Jesus the Christ. With God, all things are possible. Your imagination is yours. You are free to place anything in there at your discretion. I am talented. I am heroic. I am ecstatically happy. I am wealthy beyond words. I am content. I am God. Be fearless and let those ideals be your reality. Take this advice from the I am discourses. Decide what you want to do or become, and then ignoring any and all interference, repeatedly say, I am the presence doing it. Treat this as your calling to love and adore your own mighty I am presence so that it always anchors and fortifies you. Every time you use the words I am with anything, you are also calling in the divine power to do whatever you are proclaiming. Implement these three suggestions and enter a dimension where there isn't a shred of doubt about your divinity and power.